You did. I have to apologize. I don't realize what time zone I'm in. What is going on? I haven't stopped, Jenny. It's been that kind of last 6 months for me. Seriously, I would say weeks, but it's turned into months. So anyway, welcome everybody to the Midwich Live post InfoComm show. A little late, better late than never. We had to take a little time. I was off in Seattle doing some things in Redmond, which I can talk to you about in a little bit. Jenny's got a full recap. We both have full recap. We have not just the technical to come at you. We also have some social stuff to talk about and the fun stuff and the not so fun stuff that we saw at InfoComm. Sure. Jenny, how are you? And tell me things that we need to know about Midwich Live.
I am now fully recovered, although the InfoComm COVID thing happened again. Not actually to me, although it felt like that, but I never tested positive. But I have heard of many, many friends and colleagues who picked up the dreaded Vegas COVID. I think it is now part and parcel of the show, but it sounds like most people have fared pretty well as we're all getting much better at this COVID thing. But welcome to Midwich Live, following some technical difficulties. So thank you to those of us who've waited for us, but a couple of reboots and we have solved the issue and we're here with you. So we're now successfully streaming around the world via Midwich's YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and X, formerly known as Twitter, accounts. Please ask us questions or comment throughout the chat function on whichever platform that you're joining us on, because we will see it. And if you don't like our faces, you can listen back in audio-only format via wherever you get your podcasts from. Just Google or search for Midwich Sounds. So we've been to InfoComm. We got a little bit sick. We got a little bit tired. But I do have a takeaway. And I want to acknowledge the positivity, right? So I don't know, and this is not me picking a favorite show. This is not me, that there are pros and cons to both, right? But we have our huge European show and we have our large North American show. And something that the latter has that I personally don't get in the same level from the European show is this atmosphere of positivity. It was buzzing. I don't know how you do it. I think it's probably something to do with it being a slightly smaller show. Bottle that and give it to ISE, because I have returned from InfoComm and I love our industry and I'm so excited and everything is just wonderful, wonderful. And I've been getting up at 5 a.m. every day and jumping on my laptop to do some work, to write my reports, etc., because I'm just uber excited. Yeah. And I want everyone else who watches this to feel uber excited. So our first video clip is one from Joe Pham's keynote at InfoComm. He asked AI to write a song, and I think you all need to hear it. So let's play that.
Let's do it.
To music. So I threw this into a prompt, a rock song about the InfoComm trade show. Topics: sight and sound, human connection, AI, innovation, Las Vegas, greatest show on earth, obviously, AV. And every time you write, you got to write audio visual or else it thinks it's autonomous vehicles, okay? So I put this in. This took 10 seconds for me to write. 10 seconds later, I got this.
Bright lights, dazzling sights, innovation all around. Connections made, ideas shared in this AV playground. AI is everywhere, a spectacle so grand in this vibrant city, Las Vegas land. Human connections are made to the sound of a digital beat. Navigating through the crowds feels like a grand parade. Booths and demos left and right in this cutting-edge arcade. It's an audio-visual dreamland starting right now. Welcome to InfoComm, with sight and sound amaze. Step into the future in 1,000 different ways. The greatest show on earth as the buzz begins to grow. And we'll keep on going cause it's all a part of the show.
All right, that's enough. That is enough of that.
Well, I would think that would put some Professional songwriters out of business. Here we go.
Oh, it's one of those that it makes you giggle the first time you hear it, and then after about the third or fourth, you start to go, "Do you know what? I'm into it. I like it. I'm feeling pumped." So, expect to maybe hear that a bit later. But what a fun thing to do on the keynote. So, I'm going to run through 4 headlines. In terms of major overarching big mega trends that were present at the show.
Do I say hot or not after each of those, or am I supposed to rate them?
They're all hot.
Oh, okay, if you say so.
You could, these ones. Well, I think these ones are all hot, and then
I know. Boston chops. It's early. It's it's
early for you. Then we have another video just to back one of those up, and then I think it will be time for Chris to tell us a bit about the people side of the show. So, headlines for me. One of them was, the software revolution, and the biggest way that I felt this was demonstrated was the effect that it's having on hardware. Hardware is getting smaller. Number of SKUs is reducing, but lots of boxes that used to be in the rack are not now. They're in the wall plates, they're in the room, etc. And this took me a while to realize as sort of wandering around. I've gone, okay, this is it. We're doing so much now with software. We don't need big boxes in the rack everywhere. And actually we are able to use compute or system on chip options to run whatever it is at the wall plate. So, input plates in the wall with DSPs built in, etc. Really cool stuff that that software evolution is driving smaller boxes and less boxes and less capable boxes because they don't need to be. Headline number 2, sustainability. You had to look a little harder, but it really was everywhere. And it felt like everyone is waking up. I think thanks in part to the fact that when we were at InfoComm last year, there was some murmurings of what was going on in Europe. There was a knowledge that somewhere down the line it's going to affect things in North America. But actually, California's made a massive difference now because they've announced a number of reporting directives and things that are going to come into law over there. So it's much more relevant. And actually, the US now probably sits second to EU in terms of the action and activity that's impending when it comes to this area. So great that everyone's waking up. Great that everyone seems really positive about it and there's no pushback. We all want the same thing. Now for some uniform specs, please, and some standards in terms of how we are able to rank products next to each other when it comes to their carbon footprint. The experience economy. This is it. This is what's driving what we do. And something that got me this year at InfoComm, this is what's going to attract us the new talent. This is the part of our industry that we need to show off. And it was so relevant because I reckon at least 50% of the attendees of InfoComm also went to the Sphere that week. So they were buzzing and high on the experience economy and what it can do and what if you'd have done it like this and what about this type of immersive experience is great. And then the final one, it wasn't as prevalent in the show as I expect it to be in future years. Great quote again from Pham in the keynote was, if you don't like the AI you're using now, don't worry because it's the dumbest AI you're ever going to have to use. That's it. We're at really quite an early stage in this journey. What I learned at the show is that AI isn't just going to change the products and solutions that we sell. It's going to literally drive the growth of our industry. We are integral to the AI revolution. And so I will have another video and then I'll shut up and let's hear about what Chris got up to. But here is Pham. This is AVIXA's content. You can find the full video on their YouTube channel. So this is Pham telling us what AI is going to do for our industry.
We are the industry that controls and manages and amplifies the 2 most important senses for human connection, sight and sound. We're the last mile to your eyes and ears. That is a critical mile. This is very meaningful and gives us purpose as an industry. Now, sight and sound is related to what I will call eyes and ears everywhere. Now, when I put this up, there's always some concerns around security, privacy, ethics, legal regulations, for sure. We have to address all of that. But I want to talk about the significance of eyes and ears everywhere. We as an industry have eyes and ears everywhere. Because if you go back to AI, it's about the compute, the data, and the neural networks. We are not going to outcompute NVIDIA. We are not going to out-neural network Google and OpenAI and Meta. And so the only differentiating factor for most industries, for most companies, is data. And yet we as an industry have eyes and ears everywhere. This data is critical for our AV systems. It's also critical for the platforms that we connect with, like the UC platforms, smart buildings platform, etc. Okay? And so, if data is the only differentiating factor, and we have literally the best data set of real-time human connection out of anyone, you know that's value. And I'll give you just one more thing on data. It's related to this. I call it point 3. But if you think about the next generation of AI development, what are we going to see? We're going to see true multimodal end-to-end single neural networks. It's been trained on text. It's been trained on images. The key next modality is data, is video. Okay? We are going to see AIs that need to understand the physical world, the physics of the physical world. What do you need? You need video of the real world. We're going to see agents that need to be trained on interacting with human beings. What do you need? Video of human interaction. And we're going to need safer AI that is more aligned with human values. What are you going to need? Video of human interaction. This is truly an unbelievable thing that we have as an industry. This is really when sight turns into insight. Okay? And so, yes, synthetic data is going to be very synthetic video data, but we as an industry, and this is such a critical point, we as an industry have real-time, situated, and in context, geospatially aligned video everywhere. That is really valuable. I know this is not a technical conference, and I know it's not an investor conference, but if there was an ETF on the AV sector, I would buy it. Okay, that is not financial advice. Okay, not financial advice. Okay? Let me wrap up this with a quick story. So I've spent a lot of time at Stanford and Silicon Valley in the last 18 months. I was at Stanford for training, and there were 60 executives from Google and Amazon and McKinsey and BCG and PwC and Accenture, and they put us into 10 teams of 6. And we had to have a business case competition for the week. Okay? My team won. My team won. Okay, so why am I sharing this? Well, 1% is so for me to brag. But the 99% reason of why I'm sharing is it was just an eyes and ears everywhere opportunity in the AV industry. So you're talking the judges for this business case competition was professors at Stanford in engineering, in computer science, from the business school, and then they bring in a couple of their VC friends. And that panel, out of 10 cases, picked eyes and ears in the AV as the best opportunity they saw. And I want to tell you something. Those opportunities are everywhere in our industry. Okay? So, it is time. It is time for us to step up to center stage. The world needs our technology for human connection. We have an amazing ability in terms of the access to data to really advance human connection and insights and outcomes and the great experiences that we want to do. Okay, we've always been an industry that's a little bit behind IT, and it's sort of like people care less. That shouldn't be the case, because it is our moment to step up to center stage. Are you excited? Yeah.
Are you excited?
Hell yeah, I'm excited. The crowd reaction was a little wacky, but it is something to be excited about.
Yeah.
It's a very, very interesting time. Some people are being very bullish about, maybe it's not just yet, but you can see the storm brewing.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for it, because we need a shakeup. We've been so boring for the last 20 years plus years. We need something that is going to shake us up. And if anybody ever really wanted to see real change in this industry, it will change the dynamic of the industry, from the people and places and the things that we do today to the leadership in our industry is going to have to change, because they're not prepared for what is coming. It's a major shift in the paradigm, and it's something that we've never experienced before, not in a very long time. So I'm excited.
Good. I'm excited too. So tell me about your InfoComm.
Oh, my InfoComm. Well, please. It was quiet. I had a subtle, nondescript, typical Chris Neto InfoComm. Now, InfoComm started for me Saturday before the InfoComm actually started by going out. I truly enjoy the InfoComm experience. It is, for me, a week-long thing. As a business developer, I take the opportunity to get out there sooner and to start my connections much sooner than everybody else. And for folks that were looking for InfoComm tips and tricks, I can give them to you now that I've used them, and now you can take them and use them next year if you remember how to do it. Get out a couple days before. Why? Because there are tons of AV people there already. You can set up your meetings and you can meet with those folks much easier for dinner, drinks, tacos, after hours, you name it. It's a lot easier to make those connections before the show, because they're booth building and coming back to their room, or they're at education seminars and looking for something to do afterwards. Take advantage of those days like I did. Orlando is a prime opportunity to do that, because it's a much closer show. To go back to what you said yesterday about the buzz, one of the things that I know and love about InfoComm more so than ISE, and it's not dependent on the city. Barcelona is a wonderful city, but it gives me a little bit of anxiety, right? It's very spread out. You don't know where people are. Vegas, it's very spread out as well, but 90% of the time, people can find you on the strip, and there are landmarks that are easy to find on that one strip, where ISE is kind of spread out. And I think one of the big differences between ISE and InfoComm, and the things that I like about InfoComm the most, we always found a place and we always found people. And I think that is the biggest thing. I mean, yes, if ISE, you plan it right, your team and your hotel lobby bar, it's one thing. You can throw a rock and hit, 20 different parties of people gathering in any shape or form at InfoComm, and it's much easier to hop. As I do my expenses for the week for InfoComm, it is all about $5 Uber rides, where I am literally hopping from one place to the next, and it is so worth it, the connections that are made. For example, we have a gentleman on watching with us, Andre Miller, who I met online as a Twitter buddy. Met him for the first time in 2019 in Orlando at his first InfoComm, who went to Vegas for the first time from Jamaica. Right? I cannot wait to do site surveys for him, to have on-site meetings. Please, Dre, please. You know where to call. But to see somebody who had never been to Vegas, never been into that kind of InfoComm, and to be it on a social level, absolutely love it. So what did we see? What did we do? I mean, come on. You can't have an InfoComm party without talking about a Peerless Party, which was off the freaking hook. I'm an old
and it's
guy.
a massive AV show as well. I think that's what they do such a great job of out there. Like, there's a show that moves you from the day club to the nightclub. So outdoors to indoors, which is, full lights, epic sound system and a DJ and so on. And there's
And one of
dances.
ours is DJing, which is even better because Ahmed Patel from AV Mag.
AV Mag, yeah.
It is the DJ du jour for the Peerless events. And, you know, one of us is up there spinning the music and getting the crowd going. So that's a great thing.
And you have moving displays above your head, each of them running a different logo. It's just, I mean, you know, shout out to the Peerless Party, but also shout out to Resorts World. What an epic place. So stuffed full of AV for, I reckon, probably 60% of the industry was staying there as well, because it was the chosen hotel for the InfoComm housing and InfoComm tips whilst we're on them. If you stay at Resorts World, you don't have to Uber to the show or walk to the show in 42 degrees heat. You can take the Tesla Loop. It's $5 as many times you want to go back and forth. And what I saw for the first time is because of that loop, so many people were headed back to Resorts World. So coming away from the show to have a sit-down lunch meeting when they needed to, and then come back and, you know, buzzing back and forth. It's just great. The city is just geared up for conferences.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that was great. But also, you know, you have to note the AV on show in Resorts World. So you have the baby sphere, which is not really similar to the sphere in terms of the tech used, but nonetheless, it's a big LED ball. But inside that was permanently showing a couple of brands, really. So you had InfoComm branding, Peerless because of their party being hosted there, and Visionary because they are the power behind all the video that you see in Resorts World, which is a pretty cool statement to make.
It was.
InfoComm.
AV on display is very... in Vegas, at the InfoComm Vegas show, it's prominently displayed. I think that in Orlando, they struggle to show what we do to the outside world. It's very simple to do a walking tour, 5 minutes from the conference center and say, this is what we do. And I'd be remiss when we're talking about there's so many social things that happen, everything from tweet ups to AV and AM's get together.
Talk about this?
Yeah, I got to talk about that because that was not what I was expecting. Okay, so I was a naysayer about going to the Sphere. I got a ticket and I went as media, and I was like, all right, I'm going to stick around just for cocktails and then I'll leave and do that kind of. I did not. I got blown away as soon as I got up close and said, I'm not leaving and you can't make me. Basically, it was... mind-blowing. I was not expecting it. Now, granted, my reservations about the Sphere was that I kind of have thing with heights, and I don't want to be in like a very pitched, you know, arena type thing, because I've sat at the nosebleed sections in certain arenas and I feel like I'm falling forward. I was like, I can't do this for 2 hours or whatever the video was. But once the movie started, I was on a folding chair, no less. I said, I don't need the fancy. I'll sit in the folding chair. It was a nice thing. I kind of got to put my feet up on a grate, like a barrier thing that was there. I felt comfortable. It was good. And then it started. And I don't want to bleep because I don't want to cause any editing since we are live, but I was like, oh my whole, there was a lot of, it gets you. It really
gets you. I don't think I'd fully, you know, I've had many experiences of AV. I think I mentioned this when we got back from ISE of like, you know, there's emotions that you get from this immersive stuff. And that took it to new heights for me. I mean, there's a couple of things to note to anyone who wants to visit the Sphere. The more central that you can sit, the better. There is a dome effect on the content no matter what. So if you are slightly off center and you're looking at things that your mind knows to be straight in real life and they're curvy, you know, you're drawn to them. But actually when you're looking at trees or things that might not be so uniform, it doesn't bother you as much. It doesn't make the experience any less enjoyable. It just shows you the limitations of technology. What I thought was particularly interesting is that when you first sit down and and Chris and I both saw the same content. We saw Postcard from Earth, which is a wonderful story all around sustainability, which really helped with the buzz at the show on that topic as well. And I mean, the audio is just absolutely incredible. The positioning and where things happened, the fact that you felt fully immersed, the fact that you felt like you're moving, but without the nausea that you get in, say, like Universal Studios on a Minions ride. It was ideal. I would say if possible, try and be towards the back of a block, then you have less of the very steep stairs to go down. But that comes down to, do heights bother you versus where you sit? You make the choice. Be as central as you possibly can. Oh my God, get there early, because there is so much to play with downstairs. And actually, depending on whether you see a concert or so, and you want to be able to explore what's downstairs. And the biggest one, don't drink too much. No. If I was to go there having had, a few drinks, I think that it would be a very nerve-wracking experience, because you are on quite a steep.
Jenny, most people go to these things and expect big explosions and rumblings and stuff like that. It was great, but there was something to be said about the subtlety of some of the things that I saw.
And the power of silence.
Yeah, the power of silence, for one. When everything goes dark, and you have a ton of nerds sitting in this space. We're all looking for the breaks. We're all looking for the cracks and crevices. And there are parts where the scene in the movie goes dark and you're like, oh, I can see the tiles. And then it truly goes dark and you're like, wow, how did they do that?
Gone. Yeah.
They're gone.
Yeah.
So there's that. There is one particular scene that caught me, and it really threw the whole hollow plot sound system into play. There is a shot opening where they are going over a field of grass, and it's a drone footage, obviously. Yeah. And as they get lower, they are just brushing the tips of the grass, and you can hear every single blade of it hitting.
Yeah.
That to me was more mind-blowing than the rumbling of the elephant, which you heard coming, and the stomping of it.
But the elephant comes and then goes past you.
And you feel it go behind you.
You feel it go behind you. Or the audio, you're not watching it leave behind you, but once it's out of your peripheral vision, you hear it in the distance. It really is something to experience. And anyone who's going to Vegas for any other event, I don't know when Digital Signage Expo is, but I'm guessing that's probably the next opportunity to get out there. If you didn't go to the Sphere this time, oh my gosh, go. I know some people preferred to wait for the concert and go to a music gig. Personally, if you get the opportunity to see Postcard from Earth, do it, because if you're into AV tech.
If you're there for 2 nights, do the movie one night and the concert the next. If you could possibly do it. It is my one last thing I want to say on the Sphere. Had AVIXA brought in local high school students to watch that movie, and then set up college applications and job applications as they walked out, I do not see why nobody in this. I mean, I know my daughter would have been 100%. This is exactly why I want to
do that.
Yeah, there is a recruitment issue, and that is a recruitment tool. If I ever saw one,
this is our attraction. The experience economy. This is our best shot at attracting new, capable talent into the industry, especially out of that content area. This is the most exciting thing in what we do. And whilst we're on the Sphere, given that first on my list of audio shout outs from the show, it was Holoplot. So it feels like an interesting one to just touch base on. It was very popular on the Holoplot booth, probably driven by the fact that half of the attendees had been to the Sphere, so there was piqued interest. Funny as well, at the Sphere, there's a Holoplot demonstration that explains how the beamforming works, and you stand in light beams so you know where it's going to change. It sort of looks like an organized line dance, because as they get told to move, everybody moves in the same time. But it was great demo, and it's a shame they can't do something quite so dramatic actually at shows. Maybe they can in the future. However, it was also overshadowed a little bit by the fact that MSG have acquired in total now Holoplot. So whilst there was so much buzz about the technology, there's a lot of nervousness around what being owned by an attraction company means for selling that technology to other attractions companies. And it works both ways. What will MSG say about, selling to the competition? And vice versa, what would Disney and Universal say?
Did we see this once before when Mr. Lucas created and owned THX?
I suppose, yeah.
So the revolution is yet to be written, or will be broadcast live. We will see what's happening there. So we'll see. I too was buzzing about buzzing about audio. I love the fact that audio has gotten a capital A finally. People, AV is not little a capital V.
Yeah.
Audio roared back this year with a we're the most dependable. We're the most. We are part of the experience as well. Where
and we're everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So you had the holoplot element of the experiential economy. There was lots of conferencing solutions on show. Shout out for me to Audac. Really nice range, but particularly they have outdoor speakers of varying sizes. They've been salt spray. So you've got aluminium on the front so it doesn't rust. Then there was like a salt spray protection and UV protection on top. So basically these things can go outside, and after years of sunlight, hail, rain, whatever it is, no effect on the visual or the performance of the product. Really interesting. And they had a really clever mounting system as well for easy sort of snap-on mounting. We saw a lot of interest in the music streaming services. So that whole Spotify, Apple Music type stuff, but in the business side, which is different. So you can't easily use Spotify or Apple Music if you're in a commercial setting. So there are other options for that. And we have Blue Sound playing in this space. I also saw a company called Blaze who are in this space. Assistive tech. So Listen Tech had... they've called it Ori, and it's a new Bluetooth standard for assisted listening on your own device. So you just tap into Ori on your own device and listen on your own device with your headphones, or if that's connected to your hearing aid. But it's making it accessible to those who aren't... Up until now, we've had assistive technology for people that qualify, and there's been this mid gap. And we touched on this a bit in our neurodiversity show of people who don't have extreme enough needs to get the change or the tech that they need. And there's this mid area, and this is a great way of doing it. So this new standard of Bluetooth, own device, own headphones, so that you can tap into the audio of wherever it is that you're at. And I think this could be amazing for education, but with your own headphones. And if those were noise cancelling, it all ties back into our conversations with Justin Dawson last month. Yes, it's happening. It's finally happening. And I'll jump to one that was in the trailblazers zone as well. Now, I would want to do a little bit more playing with this to see just how it works. But in the Trailblazers zone, there was a company called Treble Technologies, and they are an acoustic simulation suite, i.e., here's my room, here's what my walls are made of, here's where my sofas are going, here's where my desks are going. I'm going to put pictures here, here, and here. What am I working with? And then you load in, I guess, the product that you're intending to use, and you can have a audio demo of how that's going to sound in the space. Yep, it's coming. So there's a dark art that we've been reserving for AV professionals for a long time, and this is really interesting. A shout out as well to Shure. They announced Shure Cloud. It's in beta, so customers need to sign up to test it, make it better, etc., give their feedback. But the pitch that was given to me was really interesting, especially around device management and the level of device management that you had. You might as well be there in the room. So yeah, really cool, really good for updates, etc. Everything's headed this way. It's a shame that I don't know what happens when we reach the end of this road and every manufacturer has their cloud control platform, how we then knit all of that together easily. We have companies like Uteligy and others, but still, it's good that it's happening. And then, at some point we gel it together. Any cool audio stuff from you, Chris?
Well, I'm going to hop to the UC side because I had a very interesting 14 days. Not only was I at InfoComm, but I then hopped on a plane, came home, said hi to my family, spent a day at home for Father's Day, and then got promptly back on a plane on Monday and flew to Seattle because I had an invite to go to a Microsoft event. So I was in Redmond for their boot camp. A lot of folks are participating online. I am working on my technical badge. I should have that before the end of the day if I have time to do that between all the other stuff I have to catch up on, but that is on my agenda. But one of the things that I learned both at the show and then with the follow-up at Microsoft, there's been a lot of pushback on spatial audio in the conferencing space. And guess what? So I'm going to say it, and I know I'm going to upset some folks. Integrators, you are not the person who is going to decide that happens. It's going to be your end user. Microsoft is bringing it, and the minute that somebody likes it, then you have to get to it. And I've heard and I've read plenty of conversation on AV and the AM regarding that. Yeah. I say it, and I say it in kind of like, is it going to happen? And people are like, oh no, it's not going to happen. Who wants that? It's not us. We are not in control of this. The new designer of AV is your end user, will continue to be your end user. Yeah. If you do not believe me, they're the ones who have driven the good enough standard. Yeah. The wall-mounted video conferencing system with a sound bar is driven by your end user, not by you. Yeah. And your businesses have had to change regarding that. So get ready to adapt. And yes, there are opportunities with spatial audio. What they are right now, I don't know. So that little connection was interesting. The other thing is that I got to go to the wonderful, mysterious place of Oz that they have there called the Hive. Once you go past those doors, there are things you can and cannot talk about. And I am so excited about some of the stuff that I saw back there. I cannot talk about specifics, but I can. But I can say
something really cool, but I can't tell you anything about it.
I can tell you anything about it. But what I can tell you is that the mentality at their space is with the engineers and the people that are behind those doors and the products and stuff that they're working on. Simplicity is what we need to get better at. Simplicity, not just from is it easy to install? Because that is always on the worry of an integration firm. But more so, how is the experience for the end user? We talk about it, but they're actually pushing and saying no to products that are not just one button presses. Yeah. So it really is an eye opener. As a former tech manager, I left 13 years as an engineer, on-site engineer for pharmaceutical companies and designing spaces. And I left it with, this mentality that I felt really good I would not trade my time on site because it taught me what integrators did very well and very poorly, what consultants did very good and very poorly, what architects and designers did very good and very poorly. But one of the things that's in common with all those when it came to kind of the letdown was of all the technology, of all the spec, of all the design, if you had just sat down with me and asked the question of what the problem was that you're looking to solve, I would have told you. Do not assume that you understand. And I think that mentality is going to come to our industry. And it's kind of here already. There are a lot of companies that are realizing that the services and the delivery of product and how things are done, there is a shift. This year, InfoComm as a show, technology-wise, had some cool things. Don't get me wrong. There's always that conversation of evolution versus revolution. And, I put a button on it. Fine. You want to call it new? Put a new button on it. Give me a connector, an extra connector. Put it on the freaking LAN. It's great. I appreciate the hard work that goes into that, and I do not downplay that. But make my life easier if I'm an end user. Yeah. And everything, the doors will open up, the heavens will rain down on you. Trust me, folks, there is something to be said with simplicity, and that's all I can say about what I saw behind the Hive doors. So.
And the quickest route to simplicity is AI. So
and they are, and Copilot, which if I can say
Copilot, like
everywhere
from ISE to now, the development is just amazing. And this, go back to that same phrase. This is the dumbest AI you're ever going to have to use. So it's only going to get better. The multicam movement as well is an interesting one. So whilst we're on UCC, Crestron, Hudley take the outside looking in approach. So cameras that are mounted and sort of away from your table. Logi
Intense.
Neat do inside out because they have their like table cam or the pendant neat center.
D10 does front crisscross.
Yeah.
So there's different ways.
And these are all getting better. I mean, we talked when I went to see the Huddly demo at ISE about how I was blown away how different the solution was based on what it had learnt from a year. Huddly had a good buzz at the show at InfoComm as well. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna side with the non-Midwich group brand. Cisco's multicam was amazing.
No.
Honestly, yeah, just really, really good. I mean, it's no different. It's the same idea.
For a fact,
it's the same idea.
You went into a deeper dive than I did. I walked by, I said, "Interesting, another multi-camera effect." I was just the typical.
Oh, I went in.
I know.
I went in. Show me. Yeah, I was really impressed. So we are an agnostic show. We speak nothing but the truth. And on this occasion, I actually thought Cisco have done a really good job. So if you get a chance, go check that out. I have a bugbear though. Oh, and actually, shout out to Polly and the Google Starline demo. Did you see that? So you like a little bit 3D-ish with the multicam. Nice. It's more of a booth setup or a desktop setup, but I like it. Yeah.
It kind of goes down the Project Ghost conversation.
It's very similar. It's like they realized that Ghost maybe wasn't. I don't know. So Ghost is big. This was smaller. But again, I mean, it's one of those, you've got to be so drastically better to enter a market at this stage and take out the biggies. And Zoom and Teams have just, they have a hell of a head start. So
can I add some one thing that I saw very that was starting to pop up, not just at the show, but on my road to InfoComm as I traveled, a lot of conversations. I did get to go meet some of my former colleagues from the farmer associations, from the farmer groups. I went to go visit two of them, as a matter of fact, because they called me in and said, "Hey, Chris, I haven't seen you in a while. Come talk to me." And they, of course, I got suckered into a trends conversation, which I didn't realize was going to happen, but it's all good, right? So they come in and they show me around their space. And one of the things that became glaring is that when I was there, I was part of a UC on-site team. That team has since been completely transformed to an on-site broadcast support team that mixes in this. So here's the theme at InfoComm. So first off, shout out to AVIXA, who had brought me over and asked me to come over and help. I did a spot on AVIXA TV, a real TV broadcast setup. It wasn't a webcam. It wasn't.
That was a whole level up.
Green screen. Ben Thomas and Sam Powell and Ben Bernards did their thing. We were guests on the show. I got to go talk about one other thing that is a very people related thing, which is the amount of people that were at the show carrying resumes. I will go deeper into that as well. But the AVIXA TV, shout out to Sam Minish and Joey Lloyd and everybody who put that together, the people from Ross and ICANN with their products that are real deal broadcast stuff. Shure microphones throughout. I saw Peter Herr, gave him a shot. But he, the whole setup there was pro, right? Now, do we complain that we don't have enough of that, that remote viewing? There was some good opportunities there for folks that were not home 100%. To get in and do that. Yeah. The opportunities are there. They're getting better. It's costly to do these things. That setup takes a lot. But I'll tell you, between that, I went to go visit the esports arena because that was going on, and the little brands that are back there. One of my favorite small brands, which is not really a small brand, but in our world is a small brand. If you go check out what Elgato's doing in Corsair, they got some really cool, very great home audio stuff. I mean, not home audio.
My whole desk is Elgato.
The whole thing, even the desk was Elgato, correct? Yeah. So they showed me their products. I'm a big fan of their stuff. Obviously, their Stream Deck. They were doing things for the pre-pandemic workplace. And they helped us set up our at least me set up a lot of things. So a shout out to them and their increasing presence at a show like that. You're starting to see a couple new brands pop into the spaces, and I relish that. I think from a show perspective, that's great. Now, going back to how many people were there with resumes. I went on AV Week and joined Mr. Albright, who said what was some of the most, one of the things you saw. One of the things that I saw is that if I spent more time talking to folks who said I had just lost my job. 2 weeks prior to InfoComm, there was a shot on LinkedIn. I don't know what companies did, but there was some massive cuts, and all of a sudden everybody turned on their open to network sign. And it was just a day where my entire LinkedIn feed was filled with that. And I said right before show, that's odd because that's not traditionally what I've seen. Usually people are hiring, bring it to the show, right? And getting to the show. I think there was an imbalance for the first time this year where, and it makes me wonder because, everybody's reporting, hey, things are great. What's going on? I think businesses are starting to pull back on their pandemic hires and
the sort of resurgence hires. I think so. Yeah. So the market is interesting, right? And Peter Hansen at AVIXA has turned this into a really interesting graphic that sort of has these huge spikes and then goes into a sort of steady wave. And there's an arrow and it says you are here on this steady wave. And basically, peak one, we dropped down for COVID. We shot back up in the return to work and hybrid movement. We dropped down because of the chip shortage, the Suez Canal. We came back up again because of the pent-up demand. We dropped down again because of the Red Sea crisis, and so on and on and on, and it goes. This can't keep happening.
No.
And we have hired and fired accordingly in some of those points already. But the biggest thing, and June is a great month for me in my role, and InfoComm is a great time because that's when AVIXA released their IOTA, the Industry Outlook and Trends Analysis. So I'm partway through reading it. It's bigger than a Harry Potter book, so bear with. But ultimately what it's looking like is in a lot of these traditional AV areas, whilst unit sales in many cases did grow in 2023, average selling prices did not. We have begun a decline, and this is really true of LED. So we sold a hell of a lot more per square meter LED last year, but in some parts of the world, we appear to have been, lost 5% of the market year on year in revenue because of the cost of the technology and the change in the technology. The other thing that we've seen a lot of is a move to some consumer products, this rush to entry level to meet a price point and so on. So it should start to balance out soon, but I wonder if this, open to work is partly to do with that. Let's just quickly address a couple of comments here. So Andre said, am I safe to say InfoComm 24 was an AI and camera straight meeting room show? It was in Central. It was in Central Hall. It wasn't in West Hall. And this was a big thing, wasn't it? Like there were like two different events. Separated by a massively long walk.
Hot walk. Ooh. Yeah, hot walk.
But no, I think there was real AV to be found in West. But in Central, 100%. It was camera. There was a lot of AI, and then some pockets of other bits here and there. And in terms of AVIXA bringing attention to the smaller booths, I think they've done a really good. I like the Trailblazer Zone. I still have a slight issue with the fact that again this year, 2 or 3 of them are industry dinosaurs. These are not new people. Just because they haven't invested in InfoComm previously, does that mean that you're a newcomer? No. And I know it's hard to vet. And I'm not going to call them out on this show, but for goodness sake, you know who you are. We've been buying from some of you for best part of 10 years. You're not a newcomer. But there were a couple of interesting guys down there, and there was a lot of pre-show attention around this, mostly through Rave and a little bit through AV Nation, I think. But Clear Motion Glass were in that section. So this is, I suppose a lot of people would looked at it and gone, oh, it's another transparent LED product, but it's not. It's safety glass, like the stuff you get in a bank or a building. So it's a genuine building material, and then the LEDs are laminated into it. So I mean, they say it's repairable. When you actually really start to talk to them, it's not in the same way as modular LED, is. But
pane of glass.
yeah, but it also, pixel pitch isn't as important in that setup. It's addressing a different market to film. Yes. I thought that was really interesting. Design Huddle. This is a content creation tool that's got built-in Gen AI. Ultimately, it's some of the CMS providers have this, but actually what I saw in Design Huddle is they've created like a Canva, and I'm a user of Canva for my own presentation. Yeah. So nothing really new, but it's first sort of content provider type of exhibitor that I've seen. Nodes Now, these guys I think are just a little bit too late to the party. They make a collaboration board on a really pretty trolley. It has a charging pad for its stylus pen, and it's got really simple software for whiteboarding. And then you can picture your remote user. It's all about connecting via your phone or bring your own device. We've done that now, so you're a bit late to come. However, if you sit and watch the demo, at the end of it, I do see if you've got devout flip chart lovers, this is a very simple to learn to use solution. So maybe they'll do well in those niches. XY Sense, occupancy sensors for space optimization. Those guys, I reckon, will have had a good show. It's a lot of alliance partnerships to form there. Peer Vision. So this is...
Your reaction.
It was fine. I've actually seen something like this before. There's a company in France that do something very similar, and I'd say they maybe do it a little bit better. These guys have ultra portable, life-size video conferencing. So it's like a 9800 inch screen portrait on casters. So you can, and part of the picture is like, you can wheel it into an elevator and take it around with you like a real life person. I don't know if you've ever seen.
Didn't we try this with the robots a couple?
Yeah, but there's an episode of The Big Bang Theory where Sheldon's sick, so he can't go to something. And so they take him on a TV screen. And that's all I could think about when they were giving me the demo. It's like, it's like real life Sheldon, and I can take him around. So, and then final one in there. So Treble Technologies, that acoustic simulation suite, that was in Trailblazers as well. So yes, Andre, there's always more that can be done. I attend InfoComm to go and see the little booths, which more and more each year are becoming quite heavily, small connectors and, niche connectivity add-ons and stuff. But there are often some gems around those corners. Real Engine was one of them over in the sort of esports area, just super cool stuff with those guys. But yes, the Trailblazer Zone is starting to become full of new. It's a lot better than last year. Last year it was full of names I already knew. This year there was some new stuff, which was great.
And in Andre, just to show progress as well, one of the signs, as an old warhorse of somebody who's been to enough of these shows, one of the signs of progression as a company grows is how close they come to the front. And there are new companies getting closer and closer to the front entrance. Some even made it to the front row this year, which I was surprised. Row, first row, as soon as you walk through the doors and walk in, anything or any booth that is front row have made it, right? Yeah. They are investing in the show. That is a prime spot. And if you see these companies, and at one point they were back 9 companies made their way. One of the more historical prime companies that did that was Vadio. Vadio started off as all the way in the back. Leon, very similar story as well, where they basically with a speaker and a folding table and have moved and inched their way closer and closer to the front. These are 2 success stories of the ones that were in the back, the small booths that have made their way up front. And you're starting to see some people. There were some companies on the front row that I was shocked. And at the same token, I am going to say it. I am not Jim Cramer. I am not going to tell you to sell, or buy on any of this stuff. But in conversation, there are at least 2 industry giants that I am concerned that their roadmap, it's not really a roadmap. It's a trail that goes to nowhere. And I'm a little concerned. I can say that because I've seen roadmaps for a lot of very interesting companies and where they're going and where they want to go. A lot of it is positive, but
yeah, there's a definite. There's some people who are storming ahead right now, and there's some that weren't really like you say that. So there was evolution versus revolution in a handful, but actually there really was revolution in other areas. And I think that there was also messages of revolution across the show, which was great as well, of what's to come. So maybe we're not right in the thick of it, but we're definitely at the start of it. Let's do display tech. So Neoti. Yeah, that was it. Whoa, hang on. We should take a 15-minute break whilst we walk to the west.
Okay, let's address the West versus Central. That conversation has been online, and I can tell you that was very heated. There was 2 separate shows, as much as we don't want to say it wasn't. But if you went to West, what we basically, as an exhibitor, we noticed one day was busy than the next. And it depends. If you ask the people, hey, thank you for coming, and it was day 2. Oh, we spent the day in West, and now we're here for this day. And then the third day was. And if you're an
attendee, that's the way to do it. So if you're, I mean, it doesn't help people, but like pick one and do one and then go to the other the next day, because honestly, jumping back and forth just doesn't make any sense. But as an exhibitor and somebody who needs to get around the show, it's just a nightmare because you can't sort of flip between the two. And I didn't get to spend anywhere near as much time as I wanted to in West. Because I had so much going on in Central because that's where we were based. So we've got to figure it out. We moaned about it last time, 2 years ago, when it was the walkway. This year we were actively encouraged, like, oh, well, it's fine because now you can take the Tesla loop, but you have to go outside and down. There's a queue for the loop because everybody knows about it this time. Then you get in the car, you go to the other side, come outside again. The escalator broke at one stage. That was annoying. So we had to take the stairs outside and go back in again. So by the time you get between meetings, you are a sweaty, flustered mess. It's not okay. And why does it happen? Roll on Orlando. But yeah.
I'm sorry, Jenny. I thoroughly enjoyed my Tesla experience. To be able to take a meeting and say, let's not stay on the show floor since it's like a half hour before, get into Tesla, get in the car, go to Resorts World. I am at the bar. I could take my meeting there. I said, listen, it's not the trade. It's not the convention center, but that's
it, isn't it? You've got to plan for it. You've got to plan around those 2 halls, but maybe this is the last year. Let's see. I love the West Hall. I think it's got the best entrance. It gives you something. That's where you should definitely arrive at the show if possible. And let's just hope that we can find a closer secondary hall maybe when we return in 2 years' time.
In 2 years, there'll be a brand new North all set up. So we'll see. I think they're going to continue to push the West Hall. And there's also now, just from a Vegas perspective, the connectivity to those tunnels will be added. So it's not just Resorts World. Obviously, we stayed there, but Fontainebleau obviously has a stop as well, right? Fontainebleau, not Fontainebleau, Fontainebleau, or you can walk. Maybe now the Westgate will start. Will clean itself up a bit. But yeah, I think they have a Tesla tunnel as well. But there's more coming. So Vegas is definitely the gem of the AV thing. I think we've established that.
Yeah.
Orlando is going to be more of the together.
It's just more spread out. Yeah, it's more spread out.
Anyway, so let's go back to the display tech.
Display tech. So I was going to lead with Neoti and the Pantone certified LED.
Yep.
So it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And it did make me wonder, well, why has nobody else done this before? So they have become Pantone certified, i.e. if they display Coca-Cola's red, it will be true to the Pantone reference given, and it will maintain consistency in the color reproduction throughout the lifetime of the display. And it does this by recalibrating based on the environmental and ambient light that's around it.
Yes.
great idea. What do I think is going to happen next? I think everyone's going to copy them. So whether it's Pantone certification fully, or whether it is this ambient light sensor and then checking the color and adjusting on the fly, I think they might be the start or the trend setter in this space. And then
Jenny, can you get, for the folks that are not familiar with Pantone, because they may be just IT geeks, and I've learned that separation of church and state. IT does not understand certain things. Can you explain Pantone?
So if you want a specific color, it can be given a Pantone reference. So
that's a number.
Which is a number. So, and this is incredibly common marketing talk. So you can't say, oh, I've got a copy of this, like I want to change it to this red because it's clashing. No. So you have a brand standard, and that brand standard will be that you must match the color specifically. And also then there'll be an associated color palette that is complementary to that, and et cetera. And actually, if you start to have these conversations with marketeers, they get really quite funny about it. And when we were talking about this on the Neoti booth, I found myself thinking of the Devil Wears Prada scene where she holds up the two belts. It's like, but they're so different. And I felt like that person. So she's like, I can't tell. I'm sorry. I don't know. But I understand the importance of color. And I do think that this could be a trend setter, and for color consistency as well. And so, Coca-Cola, very precious about their red. Actually, we have our own. Samsung are very precious about their blue, and so on. Start of something new maybe. Sony had, apparently this was their last year. I didn't see it. So this was my first time seeing it, but other people had seen it before. It's like a desktop monitor, but it's for spatial video, and it's slanted and it has corners like with, I think, mirrors or something. And so you can watch stuff in 3D. And the setup idea is that you are, creating the model on your, I don't know why I'm doing this, creating the model on your desktop. And if you're in graphics or engineering, whatever it is, and then you can look over at your spatial monitor and you can see it in 3D. No glasses needed. Lush.
You saw something cool. I was all enamored because I saw a desktop that actually you held the sides and you could curve it.
Ooh, around
and pull back. I'm like, now that's cool, but not as cool as freaking 3D modeling in front of you. But the fact that I can go from a flat monitor to the curved, push in the curve, so I get that more immersive feel. That was pretty hot. But
like, there's not much that isn't possible now. So LG had a 30-inch touchscreen transparent OLED, looks really nice for retail. Samsung joined the e-paper crew. Theirs was 32-inch and battery powered. More Etch-a-Sketches are available. Samsung Control Center in the middle of their booth. In my notes, it just says Samsung Control Center with micro LED equals lush. It was a really, really good setup, like massive micro LED screen, and set up like a command and control security center. 21:9. It's still a thing, right? It was everywhere. Every booth that could have had a 21:9 option, whether it was done with an all-in-one LED or whether it was done with projection or a single display, everywhere. I would really love to know if that's translating through to, volume sales, because
I know some naysayers to the 21:9, and most in the education space when it comes to that.
It doesn't feel as much of a hype as it does when you're at the shows. But nonetheless, lots of choice there. Videri. These are system on chip displays. They have 16:9 options. They have a square skew as well, which is cool. They mount to your wall completely flush, like a picture frame. They've got lots of benefits in terms of energy consumption and so on and all the rest. But actually, the really cool thing is they have their own CMS, and you can mount them as a cluster, as a video wall setup, or all around the space. And then you can send content treating them as one single canvas, and you can tell them the distance between screens, and it will do the bezel correction and so on. Yeah, really nice and really easy for someone who wants to do something super architecturally cool with their AV, but not necessarily with the skill set or the budget to do that with traditional displays or LED. T-Flex. So this was like a transparent mesh, but when nothing came through it, it looks like bubble wrap, and they had it hanging on like a washing line. I don't know. And so it was just hanging there, and I honestly looked and I went, "What? They got bubble wrap?" But it wasn't bubble wrap. It was like a transparent, flexible LED film, and it was quite nice when I got closer to it to see what it actually did. ClearTouch had these battery operated displays. They were 43-inch and they were on like trolley casters. You could push them around for mobile digital signage. I don't know if they were the right size. I don't really know what I thought.
43 is kind of an awkward size to be.
It was a strange size. You push them like they were a pram or a buggy, like because of the height they were at. So I guess they're like over here we call them A boards. For notices and so on. So you could do that. They were battery powered. That's what made them interesting to me. Now, battery powered, cool. What would be cooler? Solar powered. That's what I'm waiting for. So that was my shout outs in display. And I just want to say I have a bugbear here as well. I get it. I get that a lot of North America didn't attend ISE, but guys, so many booths were the same as what they had in Barcelona.
You're talking about moving tiles.
Do you know what? And I think they lost this year. So what you have to remember is, yes, a lot of North America haven't been and seen it in the flesh. So I understand the reason to, show the same products again. But actually, ISE, I would have said that LG probably won that, hero product of the show with the kinetic wall this time. And this is because so much video is shared, so much stuff online. Everyone had seen it. Yes, they hadn't seen it to go, oh, that's how tall it is, but they had seen it. So there was actually more buzz around the Samsung Micro LED for me at InfoComm. So as I say, complete flip to what we experienced at ISE, because I just think it has probably more applications. So people were more willing to stand in front of that and look at it. But it wasn't just those two giants. There were quite a few, maybe 10 major players who had almost identical booths. Now, I love the idea of reusing as much as you possibly can in the name of sustainability. But for those of us who do make the effort to travel to both shows, I'd love to see a couple of different bits. And it's not a projector, but I have another shout out on the Epson booth. There was this mobile cart for extreme short throw projectors, and they pitched it to me as like, oh, this is great for education in school halls or where you need to share one between lecture theatres. And I thought, no, it's not. This is a lovely mobile projection unit to be, well, it doesn't even need to be mobile, but floor stand for extreme short throw projectors in that 21:9 signature Teams room space. So it was really nice. And the projector is in it, and it's sort of like beachy colored, like wooden, aesthetically really nice to look at. But the controls were on the top. So you got push button controls, which is great because you're always losing remotes, aren't you? Or if you don't want to have a big control system. And so isn't it great? Someone can just override it and push buttons on the trolley itself. So I think it's an Epson's own product. On their booth. Yeah.
So Salamander had an interesting desktop set. It is going back to the whole simplicity of things, right? The Jabra Panacast 50 setup, bar, monitor, cable on top of a desk. Oh, we're going to move it to a different space. It's gone. You pick it up, move it. That was very nice, very sleek, very interesting. And then I got to see that again in play in the wild. So it was interesting that it's already, in some places, it was already out because of the end users that helped put that design piece together. Again, end user driven design more so than somebody just saying we're going to bend metal and we're going to find a new way to mount a TV. Not necessarily the case in that with Salamander. So kudos to Salamander. One marketing thing that I found glaring, obvious, weird, bizarre If I was to tell you, and I actually have a T-shirt made for AV in the AM where it says audio, video, lighting, control. If you were to tell me 5 years ago that control would not be in the same conversation as audio, video, I would tell you you're nuts. But there are control companies that don't advertise that they're in the control business. There's no, from a marketing perspective, now I'm asking you, Jenny, you are a industry pro here. Is control not cool anymore?
I
Like,
think,
why?
I
What
think
happens?
it's become overly accessible, right? So this move to IP has meant that almost anyone can do it. And so that said, interoperable control or control of everything is not so easily done. So, we've still got some big giants dominating this space. But yes, there are a lot of companies who have a lot of control capability and they don't shout about it at all.
No, it's wild. The other thing I noticed on a marketing side, folks, there is not a college ranking. There is no statistical ranking. If you want to say you are the best, you absolutely can say you are the best at what you do.
Oh, everyone's number one.
Everybody's number one. That's the first thing. But man, is there a bigger fight in the world of AV than the AVI over IP? Who's the best conversation?
Okay,
I mean,
I'm
honestly,
really pleased that you brought this up. So,
thank you.
a couple of shout outs in this space. Harman brought out some SVSI wall plates. They have the new Dante AVA, and then there's JBL in there and a Bluetooth soundbar and options and so on. They were, interesting little range, all under sort of the what was SVSI AMX label. Dante had a really good presence at the show. That list of people who've adopted their technology is growing. I think I counted 4 IPMX providers. Again, low showing on NDI outside of the broadcast camera guys, but that's fine. However, who's winning this race? Well, there was a booth that was chocker from the start of day one to the end of Friday and in every evening. And I feel like they might have proven that it is still features over common standards or interoperability, because this brand have a JPEG 2000 1 gig system. It's Dante enabled on the audio side, multi-format encoders and decoders that include USB switching, really, really cool stuff, full QSys support as well. And so you can encode from whatever, decode, and have it use a USB-C output. So you can feed your MTR. No fans in these products, etc. These guys are Visionary AV. Now, it helps that they are all over the biggest installs in Vegas, which really helps. But that booth was not big enough for the number of people that needed to get to it. They won multiple awards. Everybody was talking about them. Everybody loved them.
And it was front row?
Oh, yeah. And they were on the front row. So... And I mean, and this is it. So what is it not? I mean, they do have, I think they have SD VOE product, but it's not IPMX. It's not, they're not singing the open standards, common standards, one standard song. They're saying, here is our product. You need to use it at both ends. And here's all the ways it makes your life easier than the others. And customers are lapping it up. Well done, Visionary. Well done. So no, I don't think if somebody's winning, it might be these guys and it might be Crestron still. But it's not time, or rather we don't want it at the expense of the feature-rich options. And there's so many USPs in a brand like that Visionary have brought in their products that outweighs I want something that's going to be interoperable in the future if I want to mix and match brands. It's just not a thing.
Yeah, without giving air to an article that was written prior to the show, folks, you can go out there. There are multiple AV over IP companies out there working their tail off to deliver a quality product. It is up to you as to what you want to spend and what you want in a product, because every single one of them have a different flavor, different offering.
Yeah.
And if you put them all in the room, they will tell you the advantages to one over the other, obviously. But it is
You've got
not
to pick which ones ticks your USP boxes, haven't you?
correct. It is super now. What works for me as an integrator, right? So believe what you want when it comes to the marketing thing, but this is probably the most argumentative and hard fought battle right now in AV.
Yeah.
You don't see this kind of struggles with the audio companies. My speakers are better than yours. Yeah, you get that, but you can go to listening demo rooms. AV over IP. Is it time for an AV over IP shootout? Do we bring that shootout mentality back?
I mean, how would you judge it? At the end of the day, some of these USPs are the difference between milliseconds in latency. And quite frankly, lots of people just don't care. If the source and the screens, they're not in the same room, how would you know? It's all,
Exactly.
oh, I got that half a millisecond later than you did. So, yeah.
You know what? There's been calls for it. If we need to bring it back, maybe if somebody from AVIXA is watching, maybe they bring back the old shootout.
AVoIP off.
That just flows, right?
I think that the reason this is happening in this area is because we've been talking about it for so long, and quite frankly, it hasn't fully happened yet. The reason that we don't do everything using AV over IP is because the vendors have decided that it's not time yet. We are dictated to by their roadmaps, by them switching off the HD-based supply, etc. So really, actually, the argument and so on, it's probably doing some good. I've said for a long time, SDVOE is a great marketing alliance. If you join because your product gets talked about, your logo's out there, it's fantastic brand exposure. And the challenges are just helping keep the conversation alive whilst we wait for this transfer over. But that transfer will happen when the manufacturers decide it's time for it to happen and they stop making HD-based product. And there'll always be a place for legacy because you're always going to have shorter distance applications as well. So yes, I think that not everybody needs AV over IP, but much like AI, why wouldn't you move to a networked product that has the ability to then be part of something AI driven further down the line, be monitored more easily from a sustainability perspective. And also, quite frankly, the prices are coming down so much now, it makes a lot of sense. But how should I pick my AV over IP? List what's important to you, go through the brands, which one ticks enough of your boxes, which one ticks the most. That's the one that you should choose.
Yeah, it is spreadsheet kind of driven right now.
Yeah,
you can definitely
100%.
go features and what works for you the best without a question.
So my remaining shout outs go to Real Motion Engine, 7th Sense, Disguise, and Green Hippo, because media servers and high-end players are just blowing my mind every time I go to a show at the moment with what they can do. And let's remember that, content is king, and none of these displays would make us feel something in here if the content hadn't been created so beautifully in the first place. In terms of media players, again, bright sign. It just feels like they're always way ahead. That's not to say that you can't build an amazing multi-head PC or NVIDIA, so on. But in terms of a small box with such a lot of power, they were talking a lot about the XC5 player. So this is an 8K player. It's still purple, a bit shinier, lots of holes in the top. It's 8K, but it's got 4 outputs. So you could use 4 4K outputs if you wanted to feed like a video wall or multiple displays. They had it feeding like an LED canvas, and it was running an interactive slot machine demo. It was so much fun. So you use like a trackpad on the side and to change the content, and then you pulled down the lever, and if they lined up, you could win, or you got entered into a draw to win a player. Mine said you lost in massive red letters, so that was sad, but the demo was good. And then, have I missed anything? Yes. I'll end on a bugbear, which is probably not great.
I'm going to end on good, and I'm going to force you to end on good because I have a way to close. So go.
Yeah, so I'm not going to name them. We'll go with a handful of initials, maybe. So brand beginning with V, brand beginning with I, and there were a couple of others as well, have released product. There seems to be a OEM manufacturer available to the UC market, and there's a whole bunch of cameras, soundbars, etc. out there that are identical. Why? I don't understand why. The first people to have them, or the first where I saw them, company MH, and now there's so many of them, and they're not very well disguised. There's no little changes. Now, my understanding historically, so you have companies like Graham Being who OEM for a number of the connectivity companies, but there's usually subtle changes to the chassis, the size of the boxes, the aesthetics, the color, whatever it is. That's not happening in this space. And I think I counted 5 booths showcasing the same soundbar with a different logo on it. And also the fact that 3 of those companies are not native camera manufacturers or suppliers as standard. They come from a different part of the industry and they're trying to complete a solution. So is it good? Is it bad? For me, it just irritated me that I was, it was the same product. I've already seen it. I don't want to talk about it. Yours does the same thing as the other person's, except it's got your logo on it. I haven't seen this before. We've been more clever. If anyone's watched the film Bring It On, it's like when they hire the choreographer and he gives the same routine to all of the cheerleaders, right? Yes.
Sparky Pulaski.
Sparky Pulaski. This is my Sparky Pulaski moment. You know who you are. Do something, change the design, add a feature. And if your supplier's not offering you the chance to do that, then go find another one, because products need a bit of personality, and having like for like choice doesn't really help.
Cameras, how about we just get better glass, because that makes it much better.
Yeah.
So that would be my USB camera comment.
Yeah.
Invest in the glass. I don't care what it looks like, but if you get better glass, you get better optics. It's physics, folks. Similar to an argument I got about it with the soundbar company, who wanted to convince me that it sounded good 50 feet back to a 20-foot long table. You can do a lot of things, but physics, the science of our business, cannot be changed unless you hack it some other way. Now, granted, there's been companies that mess with psychoacoustics. Shout out to anybody who can do that. But man, that's no matter what you do, you can't project that sound to be equal in the front and in the back.
Yeah.
It's just science.
Yeah.
So in closing, because we've been running this now for an hour and a half, but this is our extended InfoComm recap.
InfoComm rap party.
First of all, I need to say thank you to a bunch of people who went out of their way at the show, including you, Jenny, because I think this show, because of what we did, because of how we work, right? We were in the hotel. We were in a hotel for the first time in the same space together.
Yeah, so almost all of us together from the group. Yeah,
exactly. So we actually got to hang out and before and after shows, which was different. So from a togetherness standpoint, to spend time with you, JDS, and Kevin O'Dowd and Karen, and to see, you got to see our, mindset here in the U.S. before and after hours for the first time.
And we had the whole family. We had the starring crew. We had the Pham crew, which is 2 companies, because you kind of got the rep side and the pharmacist side. Yeah. We had the Canadians. We had the tool farm team. Brilliant. It's just
it was a great time from that personally. Now, from a show perspective, to finally dig in and see, like I said, I spent time with the AVIXA TV crew and the people that were there. Obviously, they really invested in a product that I hope becomes more prevalent, because that I know from somebody who can be a spectator watching from afar, I would want that. So if they're making that effort, if you guys are now making that effort to watch it, it's going to happen. As somebody who's a content creator, and the fact that I do these shows, and Jenny and I get brought onto shows and podcasts and all that sort of stuff, it's a lot easier and a lot better when we're dealing with professional kind of setups, as opposed to here's a webcam in a booth and let's go live. Really, truly. So again, shout outs to AVIXA, Joey Lloyd and Sam Powell and Sam Minish and the folks that built that there, Mark Metzger and stuff like that. And then from our side, going around the show floor, Scott from Visionary was super, super chatty. It was great. Here's the boss who can actually talk. It's wild. Like, remember, I still have imposter syndrome. You shouldn't know me, and I don't have any business talking to you. So it's great to see some of these folks. Like, I was on a plane with Sharath and Paul Harris from Aurora, and the conversation. I got noticed on a plane for the first time. Like, hey, you're the AV and the AM guy. I was like, wow, this is new levels of weird. So this kind of InfoComm was great. I was missing my wing lady in Ifat, who was not able to be there.
Yeah.
But everything that we saw, or I saw, and the people and friends of hers saw, got that back to her. Got to meet a wonderful person by the name of Kaz Perriman, who is doing wonderful things on the DEI side. These are things that are important to me, not just the technical side, right? We are still a community. I'm a community builder. That's part of what we do. And to unite the groups and to unite folks and to see everybody working in harmony is great. That is a big part of why I attend these shows, not just as a business developer, not just because my employer said so, but I truly believe that we are a community of smart people, intelligent people, and actually fun people. I had one person who kept me straight when it came to eating right, because I have lost some weight in the process. So yes, Cobb salad was what I could eat, and somebody was on that. Hey, don't stray just because you're in Vegas and you can go have tacos every day. I did have a taco, I will admit. And I did have a celebratory drink at a 66th floor at a secret bar on top of the thing. People like Tom Milner, for example, who I know and love over in the UK, who goes out of his way to say hi. And he is a prominent figure in the services and obviously the digital signage piece. Yeah. So many folks, so many wonderful folks. There's a good industry there at its core. You just got to find your people, and those people are the ones that are going to make these shows better. Sorry, AVIXA, you guys can throw a lot of cool things at us, but it's still about the people. If you make it accessible and you make it easy for people to be able to attend, I know that one of the side conversations regarding the expense of how expensive Vegas has gotten has come up, and that makes it a little tough for people. Obviously, the prices of things in Vegas have. You used to be able to go to a buffet many years ago for very inexpensive. Things have gone kind of crazy. There is Orlando. Let's move on, because
there is Orlando, and I hope that that element of community. So well done, AVIXA, I guess. And at the beginning of the show, we started by talking about that positivity and bottling it up, and maybe why it's just that bit stronger at InfoComm than it is at ISE. And it's the community feeling. Everybody wants to be there. Everyone wants to spend some time together, quality time together, in and out of the show. Yeah.
Find me in a hotel that has like 3 hotels in proximity, and watch what I can do as far as getting people together.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that's
great.
Hard. Yeah.
And the city is geared up for it. So it's probably, part location as well as part show, and the community that the industry has built together. So hopefully anyone that stayed with us, thank you so much. Andre, I've seen the e-paper from Sharp with the solar battery. I'm assuming that's the one that you're talking about, which is really cool. So thank you everybody for joining us. That was our InfoComm wrap party. We are hitting the hour and a half mark. We're sorry that we were late, and tech failed us today. Hopefully it won't in the future. We hope that you, if you're watching this on demand, go back, give it 24 hours, and it should have the chapters, so you'll be able to skip to the relevant section for you to listen to. And if you didn't attend InfoComm, just hit up the brands that we've talked about today and go and have a little look. There's quite a lot of video already uploaded to YouTube from various publications. And obviously you can find lots of details
and a
on
big shout out.
the
We got
website.
shout out to Louis and for his first
Oh
info.
yeah, so all our stuff's starting to go up now as well.
Yeah.
So Midwich TV became Starin TV, but hosted and co-hosted in some parts by our own Louis Robinson and Starin's Joe Dunbar. And there's a whole load of AV on air podcasts that'll start to filter out soon as well.
Correct.
So thanks for joining us.
We will see you as a joint group again at ISE in February. But before then, we will definitely be on the road. Jenny's got her bags packed. I leave for Dallas tomorrow because I don't stop. I can't stop. I won't stop. And then I'm going to Europe for a vacation. But I will be working at least a couple of days while I'm there because I can't switch some meetings because I'm a psycho when it comes to work. But I will be in Europe for a little bit of time, and but I don't stop until then. Folks, you know how to find us on the interwebs. Jenny, where can they find you in case they don't know who you are at this point?
So Jenny Hicks on LinkedIn, and look for the face that looks like this, but it was slimmer. And then at Midwich Jenny on X.
Absolutely. And you can find me on Twitter, X, Chris_Neto. That's where I will chat and do all my sort of things, especially on Sunday. I'm super chatty on Sunday. Well, not really, but other people are super chatty about some questions that I raise. You can find me on LinkedIn, Christopher Neto, CTS. I still have the 3-letter designation at the end of my name. I'm hoping I got some RU credits from some of these classes, including the boot camp that I just spent some time at. Folks, thank you so much for hanging with us. It's been a pleasure. Our road to InfoComm has concluded in Vegas, but you know what? This doesn't stop. We are true AV nerds. And we will continue pressing on. And if there's something that needs to be said and shown, we will do that because that is what Midwich Live does. So I appreciate you taking the time, an hour and a half, for hanging with us. For all the folks that joined us both on Twitter and LinkedIn and YouTube and all the social channels, thank you so much. It really does fuel our desire to come back on and put on a good show and try to put on a good show. You guys are the critics to that. But outside of that, that is it. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. This has been our Midwich Live InfoComm wrap.